Hello and welcome to the Farmer's Kitchen. Our kitchen's outside.
It is.
Aren't you happy?
I am happy to be out.
A couple weeks ago, we had a lot of people saying, when are you going to cook outside? We really enjoy you cooking outside. So you know what? We've got the perfect day. Let's do it. Now, you have watched our show and you know that over the years, we like to bring things in from the woods. Let's think recently what we have done. We have done dandelion jelly.
That's right.
Redbud jelly. And we have brought in puffball mushrooms. And we'll show you what each one of these look like that we have actually eaten in our kitchen. We've actually found chicken of the woods. We've actually found hen of the woods. We've actually found morels. When we come to morels, let's talk about that for just a second because we're going to eat some mushrooms we've found tonight. Morels, commonly found throughout a lot of the United States. There's also something that you got to watch out for. What's it called?
A false morel?
A false morel. Now, false morels, how would you know the difference?
I wouldn't.
Oh my goodness. All right, look, here's a picture of me standing with my buddy Rick Hill holding a morel, a true morel.
Delicious.
Delicious. Now, if you look at the morel, when you cut them up to eat them, they're hollow. And the top part of the mushroom joins the bottom part and it's hollow all the way through. You see a honeycomb-like pattern all the way through it. A false morel, which I found today.
Wow.
See that right there? Now, I'm not going to handle it too much, but take a look at that. The top is kind of wrinkly looking. Now this is a kind of a glob of false morels together, but the stems are not hollow. They're kind of almost like cottony, and the top will come off. And
Is it darker? It's a darker
It can
color?
be,
Okay.
but the top is more wrinkly, kind of looks brainy.
Right. So you say they're poisonous?
Those are poisons.
Okay.
So that is an actual false morel. We finally found a glob of them when I was out mowing.
So don't even touch them, you're saying, too. Be careful.
You can touch them. It's better not to,
Okay.
but that's pretty much what they look like. Again, stem, not hollow,
Right.
as opposed to the true morel. Here's another picture. Slit down the side, in the middle, hollow. They're very symmetrical, where these are kind of globular, I guess you could say. Now, here's a disclaimer. I'm not going to eat that. I am going to eat the morel. When you decide to eat mushrooms, that's up to you. Don't look at what I've done. Find out how to key them out. Talk to some old timers. Look at some books. Look online. You're responsible for you. I'm responsible for me. That being said, all these things we've recently done, I found something. Guess what?
What?
You know how I found it? I saw it on the phone. Kelly sent me a picture. She said, "Can you eat this?" I said, "Yes."
You were very
Where's it
excited,
at? So
yeah.
we ran over to Kelly's house, found some good stuff to eat, bring it home tonight to incorporate into our meal. One thing I love to do is to go into the woods and bring back my food, whether I'm hunting or I'm on the water fishing, to bring back that food. Edible plants are everywhere this time of year. Garlic mustard, everybody has it. You see it everywhere. I'm going to take me some garlic mustard right here for a recipe. Now, when you cut this up and you use it in a recipe, it has a nice garlicky flavor. And I really like this. You can make a wild pesto out of wild onions, wild garlic. I don't think we're going to find any ramps today, but I do believe we can find some wild onions, people call them. Some people call them garlic. But you've seen that when you're mowing in the spring, you smell it. When you cut into these, a lot of people think they're weeds. I like them. This morning I had them in my eggs. I had some garlic mustard and I just made a little pesto out of wild onions, garlic mustard, put them in my eggs with some salt and pepper. It was absolutely wonderful. But as I looked around my place today, I found hardly any mushrooms. Kelly called me and says, "Hey, I got this mushroom." She sent me a picture and I said, "I know what that is." We'll show you that right now. Look at these beauties. Look right here. Look, a little garlic mustard right there beside it. This is their counterpart that's long, dried up, and gone. There's what a large one will look like. Now, you want them to be flexible. You want them to be just like they are right now. What does that look like? If you look at this, especially this one, you ever seen a grouse in the woods or a pheasant? Now these also are in Europe. Many times a hunter would be in the woods and they would see these and mistake these for a pheasant back. This is a beautiful mushroom. Now if you smell this, what you're gonna notice right off the bat, almost immediately, that it's gonna smell like a cucumber or the rind of a melon. And they have some of this taste as well. That's one of the things, and look at the bottom. You can see that porous texture right there. This is pheasant back mushroom. Make sure that they stay moist because they can get kind of hard. This outer edge is still supple, still edible. This is the perfect size right here. This makes me so happy to find things like this. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful representation. See that right there? Some people call it wild garlic, some people call it a wild onion. This needs to be hollow. This needs to smell like an onion or needs to smell like garlic. If that's the case, you can eat it. That's the simple and easy thing. If it smells like an onion or garlic, it is. If it doesn't, don't eat it because there are some look-alike things out there that you don't want. And they're mild too. They're not as pungent as they are, and they smell. They're really mild. The more you cook them, the kind of the milder they get. Ooh, look at there. That's a good one. And I know you know this, but if you're in the woods, you need a snack. You want something sweet and nutty. Get them when they first come out, because the longer they set, when they start to get lighten up, they're not as good. Those are still good. So as you're out and about, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep your nose open. I know everybody has seen these and you think, well, those smell like onions, smell like garlic, but can you eat them? Yes, you can. But remember, I really want to stress this. When it comes to mushrooms, it's not my responsibility to keep you alive, it's yours. I know what I put in my mouth and on my plate. You know what's on yours. Key it out, check it out. I will help you and I'll be topical, but it's up to you to do the fine print work. But there's so much around us, so much around us. When you're out and about, just the dandelions there. So many things you can eat and enjoy. No chemicals. Right in the woods, right in your yard sometimes. So let's talk about this mushroom.
Wow.
You can see I kind of messed it up a little bit carrying it around, but you can see how that could be mistaken for a pheasant back.
That's what it's called, pheasant back.
In other parts of the country, some people call them dryads saddle. Dryad, a dryad in Greek mythology is a spirit of a tree, and sometimes that spirit takes the form of a beautiful woman. Are you a dryad?
I should know all this. I'm Greek. I knew that.
How about that? To me, it's a pheasant back. Some people call them pheasant tail.
And they're delicious.
They're delicious. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at this one now. If you want to see what it looks like on the inside, you can see it's nice and white.
And yummy.
Underneath, you can see those pores. Now this is still nice and tender. Some people scrape those pores off. I'm not going to do that. Some people peel this, as you can see, you could peel that off.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do that. I don't see any reason to do that. I've eaten these before and I've always left that on.
I like it all too.
Now if it's a little bit dry, this is a little bit bigger and we're going to cut off a little bit of this outside. See if you can feel that. See how dry that is?
Yeah.
It's starting to dry out. So I'm going to cut off around those edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these into strips and we're going to put this in our recipe.
Oh, good.
I'm simply going to take my little ulu knife. I'm going to cut these into strips. Now it depends on how you want them cut up, if you want big pieces. Now if you did want to remove that, there's several ways to do it. That bottom porous part, you can just scrape it off like such.
Oh wow.
If you choose
right
to
up,
do
yeah.
that. Now we got some shiitake mushrooms, which we're going to add as well. Now obviously a lot of us aren't going to have a pheasant back mushroom growing in our backyard or woods. And if that's the case, you can use any kind of mushroom you want. You can use shiitake, you can use oyster, whatever you want. And if you don't like mushrooms, you don't have to use mushrooms. If you wanted to do something different here, you could use some small carrots.
Good idea.
Some people don't like mushrooms. Use some small carrots, some small potatoes, and you can do that. We're going to take our garlic mustard along with our bouquet garni, and we're going to put that in there. Now, some people may think, why are you trying to be all fancy? That's the last thing we're trying to do. We're not trying to impress anybody. The only thing that I'm trying to impress is your taste buds and your taste buds. When you step outside your comfort zone and you start exploring the world of cooking, you find out, wow, what does this do over here? When I met Raoul, he blew my mind. A French chef started introducing all of these things that I use today. Today we're going to have some beef stock, and we're going to have some currant jelly. Where have you seen that? Almost any time that we use beef or venison, we use currant jelly, red wine, and a beef stock. Now some folks, they use stuff like this every day. Beginners, so maybe more of a salt and pepper garlic type, thinking, why is he doing all this stuff trying to be hooty tooty? We're using fire and charcoal. Very, very basic setup. Fire and iron and food.
Right.
It's that simple. So we're making something taste very good with natural items that are just absolutely wonderful. We're not trying to be fancy. We're trying to impress your taste buds.
Right.
Not you or your buddies, but you and your taste buds. Preheating our oven.
Okay.
Now you do not have to cook this outside. You can cook this inside if you'll hold this.
You just enjoy it.
I love cooking outside. If you'll pour me some in there.
All right. How much would you like?
Keep going, keep going, keep going. Perfect. Heat is heat. So now you see that fat? I want that fat.
Good stuff.
That fat does not bother me at all. This is a chuck roast. Now whether you raise it or buy it from the store, I saw them on sale the other day. Watch out for chuck roast when they're on sale because you can do so many things with it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut out about, I don't know, a couple pounds anyway. Cut it in bite-sized pieces. They're going to shrink up just a little bit when I brown them. We've preheated our oven, our Dutch oven.
I like our oven.
It's a heat source, just like your oven inside. You can do this in a crock pot. Of course, you'd have to cook a lot longer.
Right.
This is about an hour-and-a-half recipe. Let's see if we got a snizzle.
Ooh.
All right, so we're going to brown our beef 350 degrees when you're preheating your pan, or keeping 350 degree temperature inside of a Dutch oven outdoors on a 12-inch is 17 on the top, 8 on the bottom. Remember that, I try to remember that it equals 25. Okay. Obviously you'll want more on the top than the bottom because of spacing. And we're gonna do a little stacking tonight because we're making some bread as well. So what have we got, Mrs. Farmer? We've got beef and we've got mushrooms. What could we possibly do with that?
I don't know. What could we do with that? I think.
How about some beef and mushrooms over mashed potatoes?
Ooh, I like that. I like my mashed potatoes.
And I'm just going to lightly brown these. As you know, it's going to cook for another hour and a half out here. All right, I browned my meat. I'm coming back with my onions. All right, so our onions, I think, are sufficiently browned. Now, with our butcher's twine, if you would take our parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Are you going to Scarborough Fair?
Yes.
Have you heard that song?
No, yes, I have.
That song, now, not the one that was written in the 60s, that is actually, the actual Scarborough Fair song is hundreds of years old.
Okay.
And the Scarborough Fair has been going on since the 1400s.
Okay.
So parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Now you can remember that from the song. So many dishes can work well with this, especially a beef dish.
Alrighty.
So if you'll take me some parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
I will.
Thyme together. I remember the first time I cooked with red wine. It's probably 30 years ago. Now, if you don't drink wine or don't believe in drinking wine, know this, that your alcohol content is minute once this cooks down. But the flavor is amazing. The flavor is absolutely amazing. So I'm gonna say 24 ounces of beef broth. And I'm gonna add some currant jelly. Now that's gonna give us the sweet versus the salty and the tart and everything that we're gonna do in here. At this point as well, I'm also gonna add some salt and pepper to taste. Take a little bit of beef bouillon. I'm gonna get some salt content from there as well. And I'm gonna say, that's about 2 teaspoons. So that combination, remember that, the red wine, the currant jelly, you've seen it before and you'll see it again, work in a whole lot of recipes. So we're gonna bring this up to a boil. Now I'm gonna take about 4 cloves of garlic. We're putting those in whole. And Kelly will probably eat those just like that when they come out. All right, at this point, we're gonna put in our mushrooms, pheasant back mushroom. And I'm gonna take some shiitake as well. And if I had to guess, it's about 3/4 cup of each. And then I'm gonna put our beef back in here. We're gonna take some of our garlic mustard and our parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Then we're gonna turn the heat up. How do you turn the heat up? We put the top on. Remember, that's 8 on the bottom, 17 on the top. Now in a minute, we're gonna get your bread started. So let's clean all this stuff up, get your bread going. This is an easy bread recipe. Now we've done bread on the Dutch ovens before. We're gonna stack tonight. But this one is probably easier. Tell me why this is easier.
Well, it's kind of just, it's a yeast bread, but it's more of a flat bread. It's not, it doesn't gonna raise, and it's gonna be kind of more dense and thick, and we're gonna season it up with some of those onions and things you got out of the woods.
You know, you can do a lot to your bread. You can put rosemary, you can put basil. We're gonna take the actual onions and we're gonna take some of the garlic mustard and put in this bread. Just a nice little taste. And again, you gotta let it set and rise for how long?
It can rise for these can go a long time, usually at least probably 4 to 5 hours. This one's sat most of the day.
You don't have to knead it a lot.
No, and it's not gonna rise up real big like a yeasty dough. It's gonna be more flat and cut and a dense. So.
And we're doing this because it's quick. It's the
right.
quickest bread we can do. All right, let's get this mess cleaned up and then we'll start our bread. Tonight's pure charcoal, no fire blowing in our eyes. You can do this with charcoal right outside. This is gonna be our stovetop.
Okay, perfect.
For our asparagus.
Yeah.
We've already made our mashed potatoes. Now we gotta make our bread. Everything's coming together.
Yes,
so
it is.
show us that, Miss Farmer.
Well, I have a packet of yeast in here.
Okay.
And I've got 1 cup of warm water.
All right.
This is just a simple recipe.
This is for something that you don't have to knead and cover and come back and knead and cover and come back.
You just leave it lay all day if you want. It can sit 2 hours, it can go 6 hours.
Yeah. And that's active dry yeast.
Right. And usually I'll have a whisker or fork, but we're outside, so we're good.
We're outside. Yeah. It's a wonder we're not using a stick.
That's right. Half a cup of sugar, you gotta put sugar.
All right.
And I need, would you give me 3/4 of a teaspoon? That's a half. I need 3/4 of salt.
All right.
I have a half cup of butter if you want to dump that in.
All right. That has been softened.
Right. We'll put an egg.
Okay. And here's the dry, which is?
Oregano, basil, and thyme. Just give it a little taste, kind of a dense, tasty bread.
Then we're gonna come back with just a little bit of the fresh garlic mustard and onions. Just a little bit, little thin pieces of that.
You want to add me a little flour. We have 3½ cups of flour.
A little flour?
Just slowly add it in. Let me mix it a little. This is actually a bread flour. And like I said, this is something you could actually put in a pan and put it in the oven on warm for a couple hours and let it rise and do it. Or just like we just let it sit all day. I kind of punched it down a couple times and made it flat. And it's actually sat around for a while, and we're gonna cook it up.
All right, I'm gonna bring this up to you. That's our 10-inch pan.
I'm a mess here, but you notice I didn't really need this a whole lot. And we are gonna, you could put this in a regular bread pan, but we're cooking outside.
Need it. Why are we gonna eat it if you didn't need it?
I need it, you're right. And I'm just gonna put it in here and we're gonna let it spread out in the pan. You could let it won't get real big. And it could go 2 hours, it could go 6 hours, whatever you think looks good.
So let's let this sit for a couple hours. Back over here, bam. We're gonna put this right on top of this. We're gonna put, this is a 10-inch pan. Now we're gonna put some on top. Now that's roughly 14 and 7 for the 10-inch.
Well, last night I did 350, probably 15, 20 minutes in a regular loaf pan. So I would say it's going to be about the same.
All right, we're all coming together here. There's something about cooking outside. It's a little more work.
But it's delish.
Whatever kind of seasoning you like, salt and pepper. Maybe you got a multi-seasoned flavoring that you like. Now we don't want to overdo our asparagus. We want just a little bit of crunch left in there. All right, I'm bringing this bread over. Oh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'll check on this real quick. Oh, it's looking good. At this point, I'm going to take out my bouquet garni. And you see what I got here? Oh, I wish you could smell this. Everything's tender. It's all cooked together. It smells right, if you know what I mean. At this point, I'm going to take some cornstarch, equal parts cornstarch and water. And I'm going to pour in here and just thicken that up. Thicken it up till it looks right. And we're going to put that over our mashed potatoes and have us some kind of dinner. All right, now, if you cook it in a 10-inch, we let this rise a lot longer. We like to put garlic on this, and it's like garlic sticks when you cut it that way. That's the way the bread looks as a loaf. We've been eating the fire out of that.
This one I knocked down to make it more like a flat breadstick.
All right, we got good bread. Mrs. Farmer, I want you to try that and see what you think.
Mm-hmm. Really good.
That mushroom was sitting on the side of a tree yesterday. We rescued it and made it famous.
Really good. We need to find more mushrooms. I like this. Delicious. Delicious.
Meat's nice and tender.
It's delicious. It's tender. Your mushrooms are tasty. I love it.
It's bread, by the way. I gotta try it.
Good bread. All the flavors.
That's unbelievable.
It's so nice and thick, isn't it?
You know what? There's something about cooking outside.
There is.
And if you want some recipes, where would you go, Mrs. Farmer?
I go to timfarmerscountrykitchen.com.
Everything in the world there, how-tos, how to build this, how to build that, how to make this, how to make that, how to make 10 gazillion recipes. And we have a Facebook page.
We do.
We'd like to see you over there. How do you get there? That's pretty hard.
You hit like.
Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen Facebook page. Hope to see you there. Hard to believe, but a half hour has flown by.
Yes, it has.
I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you that it's all about
Good times
good friends.
and good eats.
We'll see you next week on Tim Farmer's Country Kitchen. Dig in, Miss Farmer.
Yum.